Hello, all you acting and confirmed Naguses out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor.
So many Naguses.
This is Undeclared Bajor, the best Star Trek DS9 discussion podcast in the universe. My name is Fletcher. About to say hello is Data.
What up?
Today we're going to discuss Star Trek DS9 Season 6, Episode 23, Prophet and Lace. Alternate title, I Columba.
Oh, Lumba. I was sitting here thinking, like, is this a Columbo reference or something? Okay, I'm following now.
Oh, I should have done a Columbo. I don't know what I could have done with that, though. We will be discussing spoilers up through this episode, but not after this episode, so it is safe to watch along with us. If this is your first experience with Star Trek DS9, you can just, watch the episodes and then listen to us.
Or the other way around if you really want to.
Yeah, I guess you could just listen to the podcast if you want. I mean, that's not necessarily the way I'd recommend, but...
So you listen to Fletcher recap the entire episode first, and you get the picture of it in your head, and then you see how well the real thing stacks up.
Yeah. I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's a free country.
Yep.
Depending on what country you live in.
Well, yeah, okay, fair.
Prophet and Lace originally aired May 13th, 1998. It was written by Ira Steven Behr and Hans Beimler, classic duo, and directed by Alexander Siddig.
Yep.
Is this his first?
Well, hold on.
Or am I just not remembering?
I feel like he's done one before, but let me go in here. Let's see what we can find. His directorial credits are Business as Usual, the season 5 episode, as Siddig El Fadil. This is his first one as Alexander Siddig, I guess.
Let's see. Wait, Business as Usual. That was the one where he hooks up with Gala to do the arms dealing, right?
That sounds right. Hold on. Let me. Business as Usual. Let's check real quick. Yes, you are correct. Okay.
So I guess he's specializing in these Ferengi episodes.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. Sirach Lofton is not in the episode. Colomini is not in the episode.
Not in the episode. He's still off filming whatever he was filming.
Everybody else is barely in the episode. That's not a Ferengi.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, Lita gets some screen time, which is a little unusual. So that's nice.
Yeah, that's good. If you're going to do a feminist-themed, I guess, episode, it's good to have her in there. But yeah, let's get this episode started with some sexual harassment. And this is I pay attention to my sexual harassment training. This is what's called tit-for-tat sexual harassment.
Yeah, it's pretty sexual harassy, I have to say.
But yeah, Quark is truly impressed. He seems to be giving a performance review to one of his Dabo girls, Allura, interesting name, who hasn't had a single complaint in 3 months. Everybody agrees Allura is the best. She's so nice. But Quark thinks she could be nicer. Especially to him.
Yeah, it's okay. The whole thing is just so, we've seen before how his contracts include, sexual favors or whatever. So it's not like any of this is a surprise, but it's just, the scene is so gross.
Right. It just feels like one of those things I thought we were past, but I guess not.
It's funny because it would set up, and we'll have to get into this a little bit later, but it would set up a great, comparison if, Quark learned some real lessons before the end of the episode, but I don't think I don't think the payoff comes across that way.
Yeah, I'm very confused what lessons I'm supposed to learn from this episode, if I'm going to be honest. But Quark hands Allura a book, Umox for Fun and Profit.
So I guess on Ferenginar you can pay for Umox and it's all good.
Yeah, sure, why not? Or, you can use Umox to entice people to, as a sales pitch or something. But yeah, he advises her to get reading because all the people she's so nice to, only one of them has the power to fire her. So it's just not a good look. It's not a good look. Then Rom bursts in with urgent news. News about Moogie. In that Moogie lives on Ferenginar and all phone calls to that planet are getting the unable to connect message.
So no news is news in this case.
Right. Apparently Rom is the first person to notice this global communications blackout, and they go to Ops to see what's up, fearing a Dominion invasion of Ferenginar. Everyone is skeptical. Worf can't think of a strategic advantage the Dominion would get from holding Ferenginar, and Kira points out it would be difficult to take the planet without conquering Claris and Irtok too. So
that's good to know.
Yeah.
It is funny to me. Like, we had a very recent episode where we were sending like what we assume. We never found out what was actually in the envelope, but what we assume was like a proposition for an alliance against the Dominion to the Grand Nagus, right? And now it's like, what do the Ferengi have that the Dominion would be interested in? I'm like, well, I mean, stopping them from... Maybe they found that letter. Maybe Nog left it behind on that runabout when they escaped, and they found it, and on that was a disc where the Federation was discussing the downfall of the Dominion through the Ferengi an alliance with the Ferengi. So maybe they have a really good reason to, nip that in the bud.
Well, maybe this is all an elaborate stratagem by Sisko to focus the Dominion's attentions on Ferenginar.
Ooh.
A totally worthless planet.
Clearly, he recruited Garrick again. For,
right.
Who else could have thought of something like that?
Yeah, the Garrick and Sisko think tank is fully established now.
Man, from now on, I'm just going to assume that they're behind everything.
Oh, yeah. Everything that doesn't make sense, all plot holes, can be explained away by this. But then Dax announces that a Ferengi ship is approaching, and what good timing.
Yeah.
It's Grand Nagus Zek and Moogie, so man, what a coincidence. So all is well. If Ferenginar has suffered some kind of catastrophe, at least those two survived.
I mean, are there any others that we really like? Let's be fair. I mean, I guess Rom tried to contact Lek, I think he mentioned, and that guy was okay.
Oh, yeah, sure. I don't want anything bad to happen to Lek. But yeah, whatever happened, nobody seems to give a crap, as the only people who greet the ruler of Ferenginar are Quark and Rom.
Yep.
No Captain Sisko, no Kira.
Hey, those guys are expensive, okay?
Quark is surprised to see his mother wearing clothes in public. Zek explains that he has amended the Ferengi constitution to allow women to wear clothes in public or wherever they want. He suddenly realized that women make up half the population. In fact, I think he says 53% or something like that. And it might boost the economy to have these people actually working and shopping and stuff.
Yeah, this is one of the the most far-fetched things about Ferengi society, because they have these two overwhelming things. That they've got the prejudice against women.
The misogyny?
Yes, thank you. The misogyny is a big part of their personality that we were introduced to in Deep Space Nine. But overshadowing that by far has been the greed and business sense. So the fact that no one in all of these years has ever gone, wait a second, maybe we should make that 50% of our population pull their weight a little bit in this economy. Later in the episode, it's even more ridiculous, where this guy who's apparently an economic genius and runs one of the biggest corporations is like, wait a second, if women were allowed to buy my products, then that would be twice the number of people buying my products. Oh my God.
Right.
It's just, it is beyond the pale that no one has apparently considered this at all.
I mean, just, prejudice and is a funny thing. But, I mean, this is an incredibly complex concept, apparently, that needs to be explained numerous times throughout the episode.
Yeah.
But, yeah, before women can do all that stuff, we either need to allow them to wear clothes in public or make it legal to be naked in public. And Zek went with the first one.
Like, just relax the decency laws. That's one way that he could have gone, for sure.
Right. But I'm like, wait, aren't there also strict laws against women owning property, having money, trading on the stock market, etc.? I mean, maybe those laws are somehow tied to clothes also?
I do like Zek's point that he makes. It's like, obviously, between those two options, he would go with the wearing clothes thing, because he's like, think about it. If, like, we'll be selling twice as many clothes this way.
Right, exactly. And
so, it's...
you need to manufacture as much demand as you can.
Yeah, and I mean, if you allowed people to go out not wearing any clothes, then you might actually lose business in your clothing industry.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Men would be like, wait, I don't have to wear clothes either? This is great.
It's a slippery slope. Just everybody would be like, walking around, everything hanging out.
Yep.
No clothes. Let's see. But unfortunately, this allowing women to wear clothes move has plunged the markets into turmoil for some reason. There was so much trading that the Ferengi communications network crashed. So that's right. They literally broke the internet. And as a result, Zek has been deposed. Or wait, is that the right word?
Yeah, deposed, sure.
So who's the new Grand Nagus? Quark correctly guesses Brunt, as there are only like 8 Ferengi in the entire universe, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't going to be Cousin Gala. Let's admit it. So who else could it be?
That would be fun. Or Nagus Lek.
Okay, Nagus Lek could be fun. He cares so little about like profit and stuff that it would be a very different society.
It's like we are now the Klingons.
Yeah, he's like, let's take on the Dominion. We can do it.
It's like we're going to conquer the whole Dominion ourselves.
Yeah.
But Grand Nagus Brunt, that's acting Grand Nagus Brunt, a joke that will never get tired. But not to worry, Zek vows that he will reclaim his old position. He heads down to Quark's quarters, which he declares the headquarters of the legitimate Ferengi government. So apparently he couldn't even get his own quarters on the station.
I mean, that costs money. Why? Like that? I'm pretty sure that's happened previously when when Zek shows up, he like takes over Quark's quarters.
There's only 3 days until the FCA votes to confirm Brunt as Nagus. Zek outlines his plan. First, he'll call up all the FCA commissioners and invite them to Deep Space Nine. Second, he'll get Ishka to explain to them the thing about women being good for the economy, which in hindsight they probably should have done like on TV or something before suddenly announcing such a huge change to Ferengi society.
Maybe they did and just no one was paying attention.
It could be. Yeah, it could be Ferenginar is a very politically apathetic world. And then once they've done that, Zek will presumably get his job back. And then one day, dreams Ishka, maybe a woman Ferengi will climb the Tower of Commerce and take her place as Grand Nagus.
And everyone's like, wait, let's not get out of hand now.
So Rom comes in and introduces Zek to Nog and Lita. The Nagus pervs on Lita for a moment. Then orders...
Who wouldn't, really?
Yeah, sure. This is some of the more understandable perving of the episode, but then he orders Quark's quarters cleared to make room for some phones to start calling the FCA commissioners. And then a phone call montage ensues, which starts promising but quickly goes downhill. Of 432 commissioners, only one of them agreed to come to Deep Space Nine to hear Ishka out. Luckily, that one commissioner is Nilva, chairman of Sluggo Cola. And apparently this one guy is so influential that the other commissioners don't really matter.
Yeah, well, we should have just called this guy.
However, he is famously opposed to change, as evidenced by the 300-year-old Sluggo Cola ad, Sluggo Cola, the slimiest cola in the galaxy.
Well, really, I mean, what's to change in that? It's
perfect.
It's just, you couldn't get any better. So I had to. I got some information on Sluggo Cola, and its competitor, Eelvasser.
Uh-huh. Good.
Because they both originally show up in the Robert Hugh Wolf, Ira Stephen Bear book, Legends of the Ferengi.
Oh, okay. I thought we'd heard of Sluggo Cola at least once before, but I could be mistaken.
It's interesting you say that, because I believe this is the first time that we've seen it in Deep Space Nine. However, we did see it in an episode of Picard.
Oh, okay.
So, let's see. In Picard, we find out... Okay, so in that episode of Picard, it's the crime lord Sneed is fond of Sluggo Cola and keeps a Sluggo Cola banner in his den on Metalis Prime. And he offers Raffi some Sluggo Cola when she shows up. So, apparently...
I remember that guy.
In that episode, on the bottle or something, we can read the ingredients of Sluggo Cola, which are carbonated water, algae, sugar, cola nut extract, slug extract, caffeine, natural and artificial flavorings, phosphoric acid, and caramel coloring. It contained 0% of suggested nutrients and minerals for all sentient species.
Nice. Because, I was thinking, I was like, wait, Sluggo Cola, does this imply that cola nuts exist on Ferenginar?
Maybe they import them.
And that they just, they mix them with slugs, and that's where Sluggo Cola comes from. But apparently that answers the question.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's mostly carbonated water and algae, but yeah, that's in there.
Yeah.
But it also shows up later in like Lower Decks and even in Discovery, apparently. So it's all over the place. But its classic competitor, Eelvasser, is slightly less prevalent in the TV shows. I think this is the only episode where it shows up. However, from the books, or that book that they wrote, you find out that Eelvasser was discovered by two boyhood friends named Sluggo and Vorp. Sluggo tricked Vorp into drinking bog water and was surprised when Vorp commented, tastes like eel.
Huh.
And if you get the audiobook of Legends of the Ferengi, there's even an advertising jingle for Eelvasser in there.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, you should go out and get that. Also, the note in here says, curiously, the bottle featured a label with a Vulcan IDIC symbol on it, but the citation for that is citation needed. So I don't know if that's correct.
So, just so we're clear, Sluggo invented Eelvasser, not Sluggo Cola.
I mean, maybe the two of them started Eelvasser together, and then Sluggo went off and invented Sluggo Cola. I don't know. Oh, hold on. We're going to memory beta for this information.
Okay.
So soon after the classic tale of tastes like an eel, mass production and marketing for Eelvasser began, in bottles featuring the faces of both Vorp and Sluggo. For 4 decades, Eelvasser was the dominant beverage in the Ferengi marketplace, faltering only after a consortium of rival beverage makers developed Sluggo Cola and enticed Sluggo to become its spokesperson.
Okay, so Sluggo Cola was developed independently. I guess it gets its name because it has slugs in it, but this guy's name is coincidentally Sluggo, so they got him to come over and be the mascot for it.
Or maybe that was part of their pitch to get this guy. It was hey, we'll name the cola after you.
Ah, and then we'll fill it with slugs to avoid.
Well, there's a little bit of slug extract. I mean, it's not overwhelming or anything.
Sure, interesting. Okay, I just imagine it's one of those situations where you're at a restaurant and you order a Sluggo Cola and the waiter is like, "Oh, is Eelvasser okay?"
Nope. Yeah, I bet it's exactly the Ferengi equivalent of Coke and Pepsi going up against each other all the time. I there's a note in here. First Splinter timeline in memory beta. In 2376, the Eelvasser company joined forces with Brunt and Czech Pharmaceuticals to depose some sort of future Grand Nagus spoiler. In his advertisements, Brunt claimed he now drank only Eelvasser and would make it the official beverage of the Nagel residents. It was later revealed Eelvasser was involved in a conspiracy which involved the forging of a marriage contract, and stock fell dramatically after this revelation.
Sure. Man, this is quite a saga.
I know, it so is. I'm glad that I've dug into the history of Sluggo and Eelvasser.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, we have to talk about this episode. They're So they're scheming in Quark's bar, but they're interrupted when acting Grand Nagus Brunt visits Quark's, carrying the Nagus stack and with his own May Hardu and everything. Fake Hardu, if you will.
That was actually his name, right? Like, I don't remember what that guy's name was.
It is now. So yes, Brunt orders an Eelvasser, and it basically says, "Bwah ha ha ha, I'm the bad guy and you'll never defeat me."
Because that always works so well.
Right.
Honestly, I'm not sure why he's even here. Like,
this is just what Brunt does. He shows up in people's closets and stuff and taunts them.
Like, do you not have any, like, you've just taken over the entire empire.
Mm.
Do you not have more pressing business to be about, like, consolidating your power base than running off to like Bajoran space to like taunt people and hang around in the background?
Yes, yeah. So yeah, the two disputed rulers of Ferenginar are hanging out on Deep Space Nine with seemingly no notice from anyone.
Yeah.
Like, I noted, this is like Donald Trump and Kamala Harris flying off to England to make some random pub their primary theater of conflict, while a few locals just drink beers and play darts in the background, not paying attention.
Yeah, right? It's insane.
But yeah, Brunt says that whatever they offer Nilva, he'll double it. So I guess he's going to grow the Ferengi economy by 200%.
Yeah, see, once again, it's just like, Brunt, do you not understand the very basic economic foundation of what we're doing here? They're like, hey, we're going to double our workforce and our like consumer base. And he's like, oh yeah? Well, I'll just offer him twice as much money. Like, how are you going to do that? like clearly you have no idea what is going on here.
Right. But Brunt apparently got in a Quark's head because Quark goes to his quarters to wallow in self-pity. And then his mother comes in to comfort him and invite him to a game of Tongo at the bar and ask him if he has any tube grubs because she's got the munchies or something.
Yep.
Unfortunately, all he has is minced tube grubs, which, come on, beggars can't be choosers.
Apparently they can.
Quark gets mad and accuses Moogie of ruining everything by corrupting Zek with her radical ideas. A shouting match ensues, things get heated, and Moogie tries so hard to find an appropriate insult for Quark that she has a heart attack or something.
I feel like this was the moment to be like, well, don't you remember that time that you broke me and Zek up and like he can't remember anything anymore? And so like, you're like, I want you to leave and I want the old Zek back. Like, did we forget that episode happened or?
Right. Luckily they rush Ishka to Dr. Bashir, who gives her a new heart, but she needs to rest for a few days. This leaves Zek in a bind, as apparently Ishka was the only person who could convince Nilva of the merits of female emancipation. Or apparently the argument has to come from a woman, or it won't land with the right effect or something.
Yeah, I guess the idea is, like, we need to convince him that, like, not only of this profit thing, but it's like that women are intelligent enough to conduct business. Although, really, I mean, if you're going to suddenly have a bunch more like competitors in business, don't you want them to be not as intelligent as you? I don't know.
I mean, isn't it well known that she's been advising Zek this whole time?
I don't know if it is well known because, like, I feel like people would not have been happy about that.
Maybe. But yeah, it has to be a female. They're just set on this, and it has to be a Ferengi female. Yeah. It's inconceivable that Zek would just say, Ishka's recovering from heart surgery right now, but I have her PowerPoint deck, and I can walk you through it.
Nope.
Anyway, Brunt comes to the bar to taunt them some more that they now don't have a brilliant Ferengi female to win over Nilva with. So they try to think how Ishka would solve this problem. If she couldn't get her hands on a brilliant Ferengi female in time, she'd make one.
I love that, like, Brunt has no plan. Like we established, he's only here to taunt them. And, like, just coincidentally, through no, like, action of his own, like, things have taken a really bad turn for the people that he's against. So he's just like, ha, it sucks to be you guys even more. Ha ha ha.
Right. Brunt doesn't really affect anything in the episode.
No. He doesn't try for the most part. At the end, he finally tries, and it doesn't work.
Right. But yeah, so Quark is like, you mean we could get a brilliant female like Dax and surgically alter her to look Ferengi? No, says Zek. So they get Dr. Bashir to give Quark a complete sex change operation.
Complete. Yes, as it
Complete.
turns out. So, the original idea for the episode, Renee Echevarria says, comes from him. He says, we're all out at lunch talking about doing an episode about Moogie, the feminist movement, Ferengi women getting the right to vote. It was a really preliminary discussion, and I just said, I have this feeling Quark ends up in a dress. I don't know why, but I think somehow Quark and Ram have to masquerade as women in order to pull this off. And so Ira Stephen Bear is like, oh, yes, okay. We're going to take that. We're going to do like a character comedy. We wanted to take the misogynistic character and make him into a woman, but it was very difficult for a lot of reasons to get people on board with stuff like this. And when they do get on board, they tend to go too far or too broad, or they lose the reality, or they're not comfortable with it. And if any of those things are true, it won't work. And so,
well, that I agree, Ira Stephen Bear. I agree.
But apparently, like, Ira Stephen Bear sends the script to Michael Piller after they've finished it, and everybody on staff is like, "Oh, this is going to be a good one." Piller sends back a memo saying, "This is going to be a classic." After reading the script, so hopes were high.
Yeah. But all gather around to judge the results. As he is now a woman, Quark is suddenly overly emotional and obsessed with his appearance and starved for male validation.
Yeah, I mean, that's all 100% all the time perfectly natural, right?
Our feminist message is right on the rails. It's it is not a big smoldering fire.
So Armin Shimmerman says, to prepare for this role, he watched first the 1959 Billy Wilder film Some Like It Hot, and then the 1982 Sidney Pollack film Tootsie for inspiration on how to play a woman. And he says, the difference between these two films is that Tony Curtis was always winking at the camera as if to say, I'm playing a woman, but you know I'm really a man. Dustin Hoffman's performance in Tootsie was, I am playing a woman and I believe it. And I decided I wanted to do the latter. I tried to be as feminine as I could.
All right. He didn't watch Mrs. Doubtfire?
No, I guess not. But also, when he saw the original script, he was not super happy with this idea. Not because he had to play a woman. He says, no, I'm fine with that. He says that reading the script, he felt like, for instance, the original version had Lumba crying a lot. And Shimmerman was like, I feel like that's a negative stereotype against women, and I don't want to do that. So I guess they took out some of the crying. But his big problem with the episode, the concept and the script was he didn't feel Quark learned anything from his experience as a woman. And he's got some quotes on that, but we'll get there towards the end of the episode.
Right. Well, I think he almost did, but then I guess he suddenly undid them at the end or something. Yeah, but yeah, we'll get there. And it's good to know that this is the offensive stereotypes dialed down version.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Quark keeps lumbering around because he doesn't know how to walk as a woman, I guess. Rom gives him a surprisingly good demonstration of how to carry yourself as a woman, much to everyone's confusion, especially Alita.
I love that at that point, Quark's like, why isn't he the one being a woman?
No, he's too dumb to carry out this assignment. It's quickly agreed.
Yeah.
Then after Zek does some perving on Quark,
yeah, it gets weird,
whom he's not afraid to admit he finds very attractive, Nog rushes in and says that Nilva is here a day early. Zek says to tell Nilva that Ishka is sick, but he can meet with his other female financial advisor, and this is one of my favorite moments of the episode, when he's like, Lumba.
Yeah, we're not going to go for like some playoff of Quark or anything like that. It's just like, you're lumbering around. Lumba, there you go.
Right. I thought that was a great little bit of acting from Wallace Shawn.
I mean, Wallace Shawn doesn't get as much to do as you'd probably expect from this episode, so it's nice to give him a little something. And so Chase Masterson is quoted in here saying that she had the most fun on this episode teaching Quark how to be a woman. How much more fun does it get than that?
Nice. In the meantime, they will rush getting Quark ready for the meeting. Also, has anyone told Quark he has lovely eyes? Which is interesting, because earlier in the episode, I was noticing, like, oh man, Armin Sherman actually has some, like, nice blue eyes.
Oh man, see?
And then they called it out in the episode. I was like, oh wow. Nog goes to meet Nilva at the airlock. Nilva just barges on in without even introducing himself and thrusts a bottle of Sluggo Cola at Nog, saying, "Here, have a Sluggo Cola." So you gotta admire this guy.
Yeah, I mean, he has a whole bag of them. Like, it appears to be the only luggage he brought was a bag of Sluggo Colas.
He is a good ambassador for his brand.
He is.
Nilva won't be delayed. He's eager to see Zek and meet this new female advisor. He rushes to Quark's quarters, which he somehow knows how to get to all by himself.
Yeah, he leads the way there completely, and Nog is like trailing him. So yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah. How did he know where the Nagus? I don't know. But he's intercepted by Brunt, who requests a meeting of his own. And also he breaks the bad news that Ishka is in the infirmary, but Nog assures them that Lumba will be filling in. And Brunt is like, Lumba?
Yeah, the well-known figure of Lumba who's been around forever.
Yeah. Financial advisor to the Grand Nagus.
Yeah.
You never heard of her?
Where have you been, man?
Quark is tired of practice and wants to go to bed, but Nilva shows up, hands out Sluggo Colas to everybody, and says he's ready to hear the pitch. He has a shareholder meeting tomorrow, so it's got to be tonight. He suggests meeting with Lumba over dinner, because Zek planted the idea of slug steaks in his head.
Good old slug steaks. Hope Quarks has some of those.
Well, apparently they do, so... Yeah. Won't you be uncomfortable meeting with a clothed female in public, says Zek? Which yeah. Isn't that what you're trying to talk me into?
Yeah, like, I was like, why are you undermining your own case with that?
It's like, stick to the plot, man. So Nilva and Quark/Lumba go out to dinner at Quark's, where I guess none of Quark's employees notice that their boss is suddenly a woman.
No. I mean, they're probably all, embarrassed to look at a Ferengi female wearing clothes. They're looking the other way.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that Ferengi waiter seemed pretty cool, but maybe he's just very professional. I don't know.
Yeah, he's good at his job. What do you know?
Lumba begins her pitch. You see, women love pretty dresses. And if they're allowed to wear them and buy them, you can sell them for lots of money. And then we kind of, skip to the end of the conversation where Nilva sums up what he's learned. So, if women can wear clothes, they will have pockets. And then they'll want money to put in those pockets, so they'll start getting jobs. And then they will spend the money out of their pocket they got from those jobs, resulting in profit. So this...
Yeah, it's like we were having a kindergarten class here for one of the smartest businessmen in Ferenginar.
Right.
It's just... Also, I have to say at this point, and I don't know how often it's come up before in regards to Ferengi society, but do they not have replicators? I feel like they would have replicators, in which case, why are we talking about how much a dress costs?
Yeah, again, I don't know. Replicators definitely make economic matters like that confusing, but maybe, the energy, you have to pay for the energy to run the replicator or something. I don't know.
I mean, Quark spends a lot of time going to Garrick to get stuff tailored, so maybe that's just like ingrained in Ferengi society is even after you replicate clothing, you go and get it tailored. Or
I mean, yeah, this goes, we're always saying, they're always saying like, replicated food is never as good as the real thing. Replicated booze is never as good as the real thing. Mm. Maybe just... maybe it's one of those things where you can always tell a person, is wearing a cheap suit. Maybe you can always tell a person is wearing a replicated suit. I don't know. And to sweeten the deal, Lumba offers some advice on how Sluggo Cola can pull ahead of its competitor, the hated Eelvasser. Lumba puts on her Don Draper hat and pitches a new slogan designed to appeal to women. Keep your teeth that lovely shade of green.
Despite the fact that Ferengi teeth have never been green, that we've noticed.
Right. So again, remember, women want to be beautiful and to please men. That's the number one thing. Nilva is impressed and a little turned on. In fact, a lot.
A lot, yeah, I was going to say.
He invites Lumba back to his quarters for dessert. Once alone in his quarters, Nilva gets very frisky, and Lumba has a hard time resisting his advances. Not even trash-talking Sluggo Cola puts him off. But then Brunt barges in to reveal the ruse and expose Lumba as Quark. And I'm not clear if he came in through the front door or if he was hiding in the closet again.
Probably the closet.
Right. Eventually, Lumba has no choice but to open her dress and reveal Dr. Bashir's handiwork. Nilva is convinced. Brunt is upset and baffled.
He didn't realize how far Quark was willing to go.
Yep. Nilva and Lumba go off together and presumably bang.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think anything else was going to satisfy him.
Right. We cut to Quark at the bar, transformed back into a male, but apparently still overwhelmed by all those female hormones. He admires a ring his dear Nilva gave him. Such a wonderful man, gushes Quark to Odo. Quark is very emotional, as all women are, and asks Odo for a hug, which Odo reluctantly accepts until he sees Morn staring at them.
I mean, like, you can't have Morn thinking less of you.
Right.
Like hugging another guy. Oh my god. What kind of, like, Odo should be the one. Okay, Odo not necessarily big on physical contact.
Sure.
But like he should be one of the last people who has any investment in like the gender politics of the situation where he's like, oh, I'm a guy hugging another guy. No, because he's not a guy. He's a blob of goo who chooses to take the form of a male at this point in time. So, like, sure. It's weird to me that he's the guy worried about this.
Yeah, he's for some reason he gets the gay panic when Morn sees him hugging Quark.
Or maybe, maybe what it really is Odo and Morn have a thing going on the side, and he doesn't want to like make Morn jealous.
It's true. I think Morn is just banging everybody on the station.
Probably,
honestly.
Yeah.
He's like, oh shoot, no, Morn. Let me explain. It's like, it's cool. I do it with Quark too. Zek and Moogie swing by to thank Quark for his great performance. Quark is still emotional, but Zek assures him and the audience that he'll be back to his old self in no time. Then Allura comes over and says she finished reading the Umox book. Quark is now horrified and apologizes for being so gross and gives her a raise. Too bad, she says. It sounded kind of fun. Quark sends her away, but then suddenly his perviness comes back and he chases after her. The end.
Yeah, so what Armin Shimmerman says is, I don't think Quark learned anything in Prophet and Lace. That was disappointing. I didn't mind Quark's sex change. I minded that nothing came of it. Quark has been a chauvinistic pig all his life. He becomes a woman. Should he not learn or realize something from that experience? That would have been a great episode to see Quark begin to realize the error of his culture's ways. It could have... Also, he feels that the episode failed because it was half serious, half comic, and the two halves did not gel, saying it could have been a more serious, dramatic piece, or it could have been funnier, but it was neither one nor the other.
What parts were supposed to be serious?
Okay, well, see, that's an interesting... Okay, we're going to get into this, because several people blame it on it being kind of half and half. And there's a quote in here from Ira Stephen Bear looking back and saying that this is the biggest disappointment of his entire time at Star Trek. He says, the comedy's too broad. We should have played it for drama.
Huh.
So apparently, hold on. One other note. It's generally accepted amongst the writers and cast that the main problem with the episode is that the writers wrote it as high farce, but Alexander Siddig in his directing and Armin Shimmerman saw it as more of a serious piece, thus creating a mismatch of styles. So, it says, director Alexander Siddig endeavored to accentuate serious undertones in this otherwise comic episode. Armin Shimmerman says of him, he wanted to make it less of a comedy and more of an exploration of the relationship between a bickering mother and son. He tried to push the envelope and take Quark into an area that Quark is not used to going in. I applaud him for it, although we reshot some of the scenes, like the heart attack, because he had a much darker vision than the writers had imagined. And so, then we have a quote from Cecily Adams, who's playing Ishka, about that scene. Sid wanted to explore how people who love each other can really hurt one another. The first time we shot the heart attack scene, it was very dark, and the pace was slow. It was actually disturbing. We wouldn't have played it any differently had we not been wearing rubber masks. Armin and Sid really liked it, but when I watched the dailies, I didn't like it. Even though it was an interesting exploration of the dark side, I didn't think it was exciting enough. And apparently the producers didn't feel that way either. They wanted it more humorous. So apparently they reshot this very dark moment of her having a heart attack while he berates her or whatever, and made it more comedic.
Okay, so I guess somewhere out there is this like dark psychological mother and son thing. Okay.
And so it is hilarious to me that Alexander Siddig, this is his second directing outing, right? In Deep Space Nine, and they've written this comedic Ferengi episode, and he's like, I'm going to make it like dark and psychological. Yeah. And apparently that didn't work out well.
It's funny because there was a lot of the directing I liked, like the phone call montage.
Oh, that was fun, yeah.
Where it's like the camera is kind of like swooping around all of them and they're kind of finishing each other's sentences and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that was like shot really well and kind of staged really well. But I thought he had a very steady directorial hand with some kind of cool touches. But yeah, I guess he was really going for the Quark sex change dark drama angle.
But it's like it sets up so well at the beginning that it's like, here's Quark being all gross with women, and then he has this experience as a woman where a guy is like basically trying to force himself on him, her, whatever you want to say. And then at the end, like, first off, I feel like they play it like when he's changing his mind at the end, it's only because his hormones are still all wacky. It's not that he learned anything, it's just that he's in this like in that place where he's still got these girl feelings, and then they undercut even what you could have read into that by having him be like, oh no, wait, I want that Umox.
Right.
And so it's just like there was a perfect opportunity to have him. They set it up where he could easily have learned something about like how scummy he is, and it's like, oh man, it really feels horrible to be on the other end of that. But we're never given the impression that that's his takeaway or that he has any real takeaway from it other than like, well, that wasn't fun.
Yeah. I mean, it would have, just imagine if that last scene, there was none of that like hormonal shtick. It was just him having a really serious, frank conversation with that Dabo girl.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that was wrong of me to do that, and I'll never do it again, or whatever. Because I got the impression they were attempting, kind of like they did with the arms dealing episode, to kind of have Quark, become a little bit more of a modern person or whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought, what they did with his profit lust in that one, they're doing with his like creepy misogynistic perviness in this one, but it didn't quite land. Especially like that last scene especially kind of undercut it, and
yeah,
the fact that the whole episode is just humor of women's stereotypes is a little unfortunate.
I would have actually really liked if they kind of reversed the tone, the whole thing on that last scene. Like Quark is trying to take back his masculinity because he's just had this, and so when she comes, she's like, I read the book. He's like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I need. And then when they start to get into it, he's like, oh, I can't. This is gross. Like,
oh sure,
like that. I feel like that would have been like, you see the lesson that he's learned here, and even if he doesn't realize it until the last moment, but it's just like, oh no, he didn't learn anything.
Yeah, and she's like, she's a horny Dabo girl, so she's into it. So
yeah, it's like she's so nice, and then also she's just like, oh man, this Umox thing sounded fun, and right. I was like, are you being real here?
Yeah.
Or like I'm not sure. I don't know that I have a handle on your character. Like I want you to come back, and I want to learn more about what is making you tick, because you're a little bit of a strange one.
I was reading all about this ear touching, and I just started getting really into it.
I want to see. Hold on. I want to see if, like, in the expanded universe or anything, she ever pops back up somehow. What was her name? Was this? Oh, the
Allura.
Brunt's Hyperion servant was named Uralash.
Fake Hardu.
Yeah, fake Hardu. Allura, there it is. Played by Simba Smith. Described in the script as a beautiful Amazonian young Dabo girl.
Amazonian.
That's what it says. She appears in 2 of the Typhon Pact series of novels, but the only information in here is she still works at Quark's.
Okay.
So, oh well.
I mean, why wouldn't she? She just got a nice raise.
It's true.
I mean, her boss is a creep, but apparently she's into that.
Yeah, apparently she's into it. So I get that doesn't make it less gross, honestly. But
okay, you have more stuff.
Well, there's a couple more things on the reception that this episode got, because you remember Michael Piller was like, "This is gonna be a classic."
Sure.
In the end, the episode garnered terrible reviews. In fact, in a poll run in 1999 by Sci-Fi Entertainment, which saw In the Pale Moonlight voted as Deep Space Nine's best episode, Prophet and Lace was voted as its worst, followed by Move Along Home and Let He Who Is Without Sin.
Wow. Worse than Let He Who Is Without Sin. That's pretty extreme.
That is an extreme reaction. Agreed. I mean, yeah, I feel like there's definitely worst episodes, but whatever. The episode also received Star Trek 101's Spock's Brain Award for worst episode of Deep Space Nine.
Wow. So this did not show up in the Cine Fantastique top 10.
No,
is what you're saying.
No.
Okay.
And the last note about that is Leslie Snailham, an editor who worked on the documentary What We Left Behind, commented about this episode. It actually airs better today than when it originally aired. I don't know that I agree. I agree with that.
Does it? Yeah. I think I don't know if there was ever a time for this episode.
Yeah, honestly, that is the perspective that I think I would take. Is like, was there ever a time when this episode was right and good to have? And I think that you're gonna find that no, there really wasn't.
I mean, it's fallen back on some really like 50s like stuff. Anyway, are we ready for reviews?
I guess we're probably ready for reviews.
All right. Well, you want to go ahead and give us your opinion of Prophet and Lace?
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, we got Wallace Shawn. That's always a plus, right?
Absolutely.
He didn't get that much to do. He got the fun being real creepy and perving on Quark, which,
I like the way he played perving on Quark, where there's just something so unapologetic about it.
He's the one who knows, like, the actual situation, and he's just like, man, you're like, anyone ever tell you have really lovely eyes?
I mean, he's a man of maturity who isn't going to deny himself something that he finds alluring, I guess. So
he's like, I'm comfortable with my sexuality. You're kind of hot. I'm putting it out there.
He's not like Odo.
Yeah, exactly. He's not scared of it. And I mean, we got Jeffrey Combs. Brunt was here. He didn't do anything really.
He had some good facial expressions.
Yeah. I'm struggling real hard to find any positives about the episode, to be honest with you here.
Right.
I guess it's interesting that we have this major development in Ferengi culture, right?
Mm.
It's almost pushed aside to play Quark's in a dress.
Yeah.
And in the end, it's not even really resolved, because they're like, yeah, we're going to go back to the Ferengi Alliance and probably things will be great.
Yeah. I did like that too.
And even Ishka doesn't, like, she's the one who's pushed this, right? She's basically, it seems from our perspective, like single-handedly responsible for the entire Ferengi women's lib movement succeeding. So then to like sideline her at the moment of like realizing her dream and proving herself to someone other than Zek is kind of messed up. But they were like, but we want Quark in a dress. It'll be funny, right? So even like this positive message of change and empowerment for women is just like, whatever, Quark in a dress. And so it's just, there's really not, we're building the entire episode on this cross-dressing is funny, right? Isn't it? Isn't it? And
yeah.
And like we've said now, I don't think there's a time when you build an hour-long drama episode on that concept and have it work. It's funny because I was just watching, I started watching Murder, She Wrote recently because I realized I'd never seen an episode of that. I'm like, I'll watch a few episodes, see if it's any good.
Oh, yeah.
One of the early season 1 episodes involves the guy who played Bobby in Taxi and who played Zach in Babylon 5. He's gets accused of murder, and he's secretly hiding from his girlfriend that he is singing in a club dressed as a woman. And I was like, oh man, when was Murder, She Wrote made? Is like, I don't even know. Is that time period okay with this? Like, is it going to cast him as like bad because he's singing dressed as a woman? Or like, you know, cast that in some way like disreputable. And that it didn't. I was kind of surprised at how like nonchalant they were about it. And it's like, oh yeah, you know, whatever. But it's like that took a more elevated approach to it than this episode of Deep Space Nine from the 90s did. So it's just, and I might even be able to forgive it that if it wasn't just also so gross at the beginning and then at the end. Like there's just nowhere to turn where it's not like unpleasant in some way or offensive in some way.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't know that that I would put it on par with the episodes that I'm like, I don't want to watch that ever again.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I don't have that visceral a reaction to it where I'm like, oh, I don't want to have to watch that again. Like I could watch this again. It's not going to get better on rewatching, but so it's real low for me, and I'm just trying to decide between like how low it's going to be at this point. And I'm looking back through season 6, season 5, season 4 to see. I apparently have not given an ensign rating since the season 4 episode Sons of Moog.
Oh yeah.
So nothing in season 5 rated that low, nothing in season 6 so far, and we're almost to the end, has rated that low. I'm trying to decide, does this plumb that depth where nothing has been that bad since Sons of Moog? And oh man, I don't know. I don't know if I feel like it's that bad, but I feel like it deserves an ensign. I'm gonna have to go with it.
All right. Yeah. And I'm sure it's somebody's favorite episode, but
probably we're gonna discuss in the season wrap up that IMDb gives it like 10 stars or something.
Yeah, like all the critics hate it, but the fans, the internet fans really love it.
Now I'm pulling it up on IMDb because I have to know.
I'm guessing it's a 5 point something.
It is a 5.8 out of 10.
Nice. Because that's pretty much as low as it goes for Deep Space Nine. Yeah, so I'll throw in, there was a like in the early 90s, so before this, there was a character on Twin Peaks played by David Duchovny who was a transgender FBI agent.
Yeah. And
that was played kind of for laughs sometimes, but it was always kind of played like nobody was making fun of like David Duchovny, right?
Okay.
Like the character. It was always just little stuff like, jokes about walking in high heels and stuff like that.
Okay.
But, and it was, for its time, it was treated like really humanely and delicately. This, not so much. like this is just a disaster on every front. Like feminist, like trans issues. It's like, oh, look how silly it is. It's a man in a dress. Even though this isn't really an episode about being trans. Like,
no. No.
It's just, we get, like you said, we get some Wallace Shawn, but I don't feel like he's really allowed to shine. Kind of the same with Jeffrey Combs.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I was watching, like, I got home from work. I had to, watch this episode so we could review it. And I had my Chipotle and I was just kind of like vegging out in my recliner watching this episode. And then I was like, this is fine. This is watchable. Because I had forgotten about the part where Quark, I guess I'd blocked it out of my memory or something. And then in the scene when Zek says, no, you, suddenly it all came back to me. I was like, oh no. And then that last half of the episode, I can't describe the state I was in. It wasn't a happy one. There were times I almost got kind of like Stockholm syndrome, but it's not as bad as Let He Who Is Without Sin. I think it's definitely worse than Move Along Home. Move Along Home is just kind of a gem. It's like a unique, one-of-a-kind, lightning in a bottle kind of bad. I think conceptually it's as bad as The Sons of Moog. Even though I think I gave The Sons of Moog Lieutenant Commander just for Tony Todd. Or not Lieutenant Commander, but Lieutenant Junior grade.
Let's see. No, I had that up. I got to pull it back up now. Let's see. Sons of Moog. Yes, Lieutenant Junior grade.
Yeah, so this has some good guest stars, but they're not. They're, like I said, they're not really shining. So, and Cecily Adams, is that her name?
Hold on, because we've had like 3 Ishkas now, so I always have to remember which one we're talking about at the moment.
We've only had 2, right?
Maybe you're right. Maybe we've only had 2.
Yeah, you might be thinking of Ziel, who we had like 7 of or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we've had several Ziels. Yeah, Cecily Adams.
Okay, so she was great. We got Max Grodenchik. He's always great. He was really selling that whatever the heck is going on with Rom, and acting like a woman and stuff. Chase Masterson, always nice to see. But I don't know. I feel like we've done so much cool stuff with Ishka in particular, and the whole evolution of Ferengi society and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we also had, what was the episode? Rules of Acquisition with Pell, the female Ferengi who disguised herself as a male or whatever.
Yeah, we should brought Pell back.
Yeah, I was like, when they're like, where do we get a female? I was like, get Pell. Yeah, that was a way better done version of what they were attempting in this. So, I don't know. The DNA is just as corrupt as Sons of Moog, and very little to redeem it, except for a few funny moments, I thought. So, anyway, obviously I also give it an ensign. I'm baffled. I'm just baffled by this episode. In a bad way. So
IMDb only rates one episode in the season lower than this one. And this one had the 5.8. There's one with a 5.7. So, I mean, we're playing the end of the season game. But what episode do you think of this season?
Is it one we've watched already?
Yes, it is.
Ooh. Okay, let me think. I'm suddenly blanking on what's been in the season so far.
Oh, no.
there's the first 6, and then there's the wedding episode. And then what would it be? What would it be? It's not something like The Reckoning, is it?
No. The Reckoning actually, I think, has a decent, like, it's like a 7 or something. Yeah, 7.0.
Like, I'm just thinking of all the, like, it wouldn't be One Little Ship, I don't think. Is it One Little Ship?
No, One Little Ship. Hold on, where'd that one go? Because I was just looking at that one too. That is a 7.6.
Okay.
So yeah, that's liked pretty well, I guess.
So okay, so I give up. What is it?
It is Resurrection.
Oh, of course. That I didn't even remember that episode.
It's funny because you said, like, we had the first 6 and then we had the wedding episode. It's the one right after the wedding episode.
How could I forget Resurrection? Okay, yeah, I buy it. I'm a little surprised Resurrection has worse than this, but
they're real close. So
yeah. How about let's talk about title. Is Profit and Lace a saying or something?
So according to the wiki, the title of the episode may be a play on words referencing the second season episode Profit and Loss.
Of course. Okay.
So, and is that the one with Pell? Because that would make sense, I guess.
I'm pretty sure that was the Rules of Acquisition.
Okay, yeah, you said that.
Profit and Loss.
Profit and Loss was... Quark is reunited with his lost Cardassian love.
Oh, yeah. That was a way better episode for Quark feminism than this one. Okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, it's kind of clever, I admit.
Yeah, it's like when somebody explains it to you, you're like, oh, that's fairly clever, okay.
Yeah. So, okay.
We needed something girly to replace in the title with, so we went with Lace.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, fairly clever, I guess. Yeah. I guess it fits the episode.
Yeah, it's a Ferengi episode, so you gotta put Profit in there somewhere, and it's a callback to a previous episode, so...
Yeah.
It all makes sense, I guess.
I definitely remember the title Profit and Lace. Like, I could tell you that was a Deep Space Nine episode. I'm not sure I could tell you it was this Deep Space Nine episode for sure.
I don't know. I mean, again, it's one of those ones where I think if you told me the episode, I'd have a hard time remembering what the title was. But if you told me the title, I think I could remember the episode.
Okay.
So I'll give it 50-50 on memorability.
Yeah, that was where I was. I was like, I think that's like halfway there on memorability.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
So it's, as far as titles go, it's not a bad one.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, is where we've landed, I think.
Yep. Yeah, they tried a thing and it kind of works. So
the only good thing about the episode,
right? The title. Okay. Well, any final thoughts?
No, I think I've thought about this episode enough.
Yeah, I think this therapy session is over. So, yep, that's our discussion of Profit and Lace. Thank you for listening. If you like that one, maybe you'll like our discussion of Rules of Acquisition, Profit and Loss, any of the Ishka episodes besides this one.
Or any future Ferengi episodes that might come up.
Exactly. Spoilers, there may be future Ferengi episodes. They're not going to just suddenly stop doing them. So, but anything in the future, if you are in the future, you can find wherever you're listening to this. If you want to leave us a comment, you can do that on YouTube. My name is Fletcher. About to say goodbye is Data.
Bye.
Good one. I was like, where's he going? Well, we look forward to seeing you next week on Undeclared Bajor, where the rivers run with muck and the streets run with happy females. I hope.
With unsatisfied females.